Kia ora, kei te piha koe. My name's Regan and today we're looking at sales growth. What I'm going to cover today are 4 fundamentally different alternatives and options to growing sales within your business. It doesn't matter what products or services you sell, and it doesn't matter what industry you operate in. These 4 fundamental different approaches will apply to you. They will be relative to your organisation, and you will be able to use these strategies and ideas to help increase sales growth within your organisation. Okay, these theories aren't mine, I wish they were, but they are one of my absolute favourites. This theory goes all the way back to a guy called Igor Ansoff, who wrote a paper called Strategies for Diversification in the Harvard Business Review way back in 1957. My understanding of them has been very much shaped by this text, a fantastic book called The Power of the 2x2 Matrix, written by a couple of people called Alex Lowry and Philip Hood. I'll put a link to this down below. I would highly recommend it because it covers this idea and many, many others, some of which I'll go into in some later videos. Now, I have tweaked it slightly, but let's have a look and see what Ansoff actually said. In the paper, he stated, there are 4 basic growth alternatives open to a business. It can go through increased market penetration, through market development, through product development, or through diversification. Okay, let's unpack that. What does it mean? Ansoff asked himself 2 basic questions. He said, look, what am I trying to sell and who am I trying to sell it to? And then he broke those up into 2 distinct different options and alternatives, and they were pretty straightforward. One of them was, okay, I've got a product that I'm selling. Is it something I already know about and understand? So is it a current product? Or am I trying to sell something completely new? The second option, of course, was, who's my customer? Am I trying to sell to someone I already know and have a relationship with? Or am I trying to sell to someone that I've never met before, that's new to the business, and I'm trying to approach them? And as you can see, when we map these out, we get this lovely 2x2 matrix built up of 4 quadrants. So we have a good look at the first quadrant here. We're talking about our existing products to our existing customers. Now, if we're focusing on these, what we're really trying to do is increase market penetration. In order to do this, we're going to take a fundamentally different approach than we would to the other 3. So how do you increase market penetration? A lot of it's to do with understanding how effective the fit is of your product to meet the needs and requirements of your customer. And so that really comes down to a lot of the business fundamentals. We've got to look at what we're providing, whether it be a product or a service, and we need to know, is that the preferred alternative and option available to the customer? Is it the best or is it the second best? Could it be improved? Could it be tweaked, changed, or enhanced in some way? Second, could we increase the frequency in which the customer is purchasing our items? Are we selling something that is consumed and perishable? Are we selling something that is tangible and is retained for over the long term? You need to understand the fundamentals of your product, and hopefully you already do, and you need to do some research into the options and alternatives within that. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward, and I'm going to be honest, that's one of the simplest, easiest options. You've already got a current product and services set, you've already got your current customers, you don't need to reach out very far in order to increase sales in this area. But fundamentally, you may find that you've saturated the market, or the competitive dynamics are such that you can't actually continue to increase market penetration, or you may be in such a contested market that fundamentally you're involved in a price war with all of your direct competitors, and the result there is that the customers are pretty happy buying from just about anyone. Okay, so in this quadrant, this is probably the low-hanging fruit. Most of us are already doing this. So then the next step, I'm going to move this way along the axis, and I'm going to look at new products being sold to existing customers. So with that, it's quite easy. We look at what else our customers buy or what else they consume while they're using our products or services. We look at options, alternatives, and complementary goods and services. Those complementary goods and services are things that the customer needs and will use while they're consuming our product. Good example of this, right, is I'm a car manufacturer. Hey, why don't I throw in some tyres? Sooner or later those tyres are going to be replaced, so let's go and develop some additional products built off the brand of that. Okay, so there's some really good alternatives and options that are available here, but when we're talking about product development, what we're actually looking at doing is trying to find products that are not necessarily even find, develop, build, create or even adjust or enhance our existing products and services set to better meet the needs of the customer, or to sell effectively another thing to the same people. We move up the vertical axis and we start to look at our current products, but we start to sell them to new customers. A lot of the time we look at that as a market development approach. And what we're doing there is we're trying to increase the size of the market. We're taking the same stuff and we're trying to find different people who could benefit from this. Really classic example of that at the moment is honestly a lot of young girls on the internet that are going out and buying things like your Stanley Cups. Okay, traditionally the beverage was, the vessel was consumed by tradies and old men, let's be honest. And what's happened there is the marketing team behind Stanley, also the team behind Crocs, funnily enough, have gone out and they've actually increased the development, or they've developed the market to reach a different demographic than they previously had. And so what's happening is they've taken an existing product and they've simply found a new market for it, and it's gone absolute gangbusters. A lot of the time this sort of approach was underlooked, underutilized, because people were going, well, hang on a second, how do we find that? It's not easy, but you can actually build it. And those examples there with the Stanley Cup and the Crocs and other things have been, are really good examples of that. The fourth quadrant that we're looking at here, I hope I'm pointing in the right direction. I've got a green screen behind me. Let's see where we end up. And the fourth product here is diversification. And that's when we're actually really getting out on a limb and we're creating new products and new markets, and we're doing something completely different. And that is sort of one of the most risky strategies. It's one of the hardest reaches. That's why it's far off in the distance here. And fundamentally what you're trying to do there is you're trying to enter new markets. It's all there in the word, diversification. It's difference. You're trying to find something different to do. And this is, again, probably one of the hardest things to do, because fundamentally you're moving both away from your existing product set and you're moving away from your existing core customer set. A lot of the time this strategy is pursued for a couple of different reasons. One of them could be growth or acquisitions. The business you're working for and operate within has purchased another organisation and basically bought into a new market. And what you're really trying to do is wrap your hands around that new market. Some would argue that's diversification. It is for the purchasing company. And some would argue that it's not really diversification because the company you purchased was probably already doing it. True diversification would be basically moving into a new business. Now that's fundamentally different than a startup, because of course a startup is only doing the one thing. If you're truly diversifying, you already have an existing relationship with your existing customers, you already have your existing product set. What you're trying to do is something fundamentally new and different. And there are a lot of businesses that have survived and thrived in that kind of industry. We've looked at things like companies within the banking sector going into real estate, companies within the real estate sector going into lending mortgages, into the financial services markets. They've gone from effectively selling houses to moving money and trying to lend to the people that are buying those houses. So it can be done, and it can be done in creative ways, but what you often need to do is develop new skills, resources, new understandings. You need to really wrap your head around the new market you're going into. So again, just to qualify, Ansoff developed a thing called the product market matrix. It's actually really simple. We've got products, new and existing. We've got people, new and existing. And we've got 4 fundamental different strategies that you can use to grow sales within your business today. So what's stopping you? Anyway, please feel free to share your likes, comments, feedback, understanding, any ideas for additional videos. That would be great. And I'm happy to delve into any of these concepts or others in a much deeper way in future videos. Take care, have a fantastic day. Thanks for your time.